So today I'll be talking about this book by Gary Paulson. It's called The Car. You might obviously know by the title and the cover that it's about a car. Eventually, it is. Beginning of the story, both his parents, Terry's parents, main character, was left. His parents is his mother who called first, and she said that she had all her stuff and she was leaving. Not so long later, his father called and told him, I'm leaving and I have all my stuff. So now the mother thinks that Terry's home with his father, and then the father thinks that Terry's home with the mother, even though he's really alone. So he later finds out, he goes into the garage that they have, and his dad is a mechanic, and as a payment from one of the guys he worked for, gave him a kit car, which is a car on the front here. And he looked at it, and then finally, after a little while, he built it himself. He took it out for a test drive, and by the way, he's like 14 years old. Yeah, 14 years old. So he makes his car, and then he goes traveling out west. Eventually, this kit car he built has no roof, so he has to pack a ton of stuff, and it's small like a Beetle. So here he is, he's trying to look for like camping gear and all the stuff he thinks he might need. So he's trying to shove it on a rack and in the trunk, and he also has to pack this tarp, because if it rains, he has to pull over and put a tarp over the top so he doesn't get wet. Eventually, one night, while he did that, he was sleeping in the car, and he opened his eyes to see a stranger in the passenger seat. And again, this is a two-seater car, so all he had to do was look over, and he saw a guy, and he had a guitar case, and his name was Waylon Jackson. He's an old veteran from Vietnam. Eventually, they go travel west. Then they go into Waylon's buddy, Wayne, who is really good with cars. And so he says, oh, I got a turbo in the back. So they install a turbo on the cat, which is what Terry calls the kit car. And so they head out trucking, which in other words back then was traveling. So they travel all over the place. And then finally they're in a small town with cowboys. And eventually Waylon and Wayne, they got in a fight with one of them, and now they had to pay for what they did. So then the rest of the group of cowboys, they got their, these are like big Cummins diesel trucks. They get their trucks and surround them at the motel. So then they eventually make a run for it. And surprisingly, Terry unexpectedly listens to Waylon and Wayne, and they make a run for it. So then after that, they lose them for a little while, and then since bikes, it's a Harley Davidson is what Wayne is on, and he's in front of them going at a decent speed. Then the curves come. He has to slow down so he can make the turn. If he goes too fast on turns, he'll tip over and cause a crash. So he has to slow down. Then the trucks start catching up. They come to a open kind of like field part, and they have to stop because they have to fight the 8 cowboys in 3 different trucks. So the first wave comes with 4 cowboys. Wayne and Waylon easily take them out, but still get bruised. Then the other 4 come. Then and assuming that Terry thought must have saw them and called the cops, because then the cops come. And again, he's 14, he doesn't have a license. And by this time, before he left everything, the cat didn't have plates. So Wayne, luckily, registered the car at least. So when they hear the sirens, Terry has to leave eventually so he doesn't get caught. So he leaves, and They eventually leave Waylon and Wayne behind, and sadly, he had to go back to West looking for his uncle. And I'm going to read you the last page, which is 180, which is when he's leaving. The page reads, "The police would take them all back to town. That's how it would play. He'd move into town and watch, sleep in the car until the police were done, and then pick them up again. It wouldn't be difficult to stay low and find them in a small town. Alone," he thought, snorting. Right. Who would teach him to truck if he went alone? Besides, they owed him each day since they boogered his way up with the fight. He snapped the cat into fourth and let her growl before he brought her back down to the speed limit, heading back into Buffalo. If he worked it right, this wouldn't set them back more than a few hours. And that, sadly, is how it ends. I don't know if there's a sequel to this book, but that's about it for my book talk. So.